Da-da-dum. Do you know where to go when it all goes down in flames? Will you be happy? My beer is frozen. Will you be sad when your beer is frozen? Hello, everybody. Let's just hope that it's not totally frozen. I don't usually leave it that long. And no, it still pours. That's cool. That's cool. That's what I want. But it's really cold. Here we go. This is the famous end of the world beer. The only beer you want when all comes down. I had a marvelous comment from last show. First comment on the YouTube page was, "Look at that drunk guy. That's why I don't like his shows." Oh well. Can't please everybody, apparently. Okay. Yeah, well, the other one I think is frozen, but, while I drink this one, it's going to unfreeze, I guess. Welcome to the shortwave capital of the world, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I could almost say that with what I do. Or maybe I'm a little too, I don't know, going overhyped and going a little too far. Okay. There we go. Let's put this on WWV. Any WWV reception? Yeah, WWV coming in. There we go. Welcome aboard. And as we prepare for all of this, for those that like the International Radio Report, and I sent that in and edited and recorded with Sheldon earlier today. We'll do a little bit of cross promotion today of CIDX and International Radio Report, and hope everybody is going to have fun. Somebody just, so Elizabeth sent me an email. I don't have my phone because I always leave it somewhere else when I do the show, but Elizabeth said hi half an hour ago, and she said that she would be watching from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And she sent me a happy Canada Day in advance. So happy Canada Day to you too. And you can say it the real day, because I realized that on Canada Day, I'll be live. So we'll be able to say it in real time on the real day. And so we have Robert that is in Roswell, New Mexico. And he asked me to talk about my 10 favorite shortwave stations today on the show, to choose 10 that I listen to regularly. He said it doesn't have to be broadcast. It could be anything on shortwave, medium wave, or long wave. But he'd like me to choose at least 10 and talk about, what frequencies I listen to and times and why I enjoy listening to that. So I thought, you know what? We're going to go through all 10, at least 10 of them today as we go through the show. I think it's going to be an interesting talk. And we're and after I go through that, I'm gonna ask you guys some questions, because that's the second thing that you'd like. He'd like me to ask a few questions about what radio you guys use and all of that. But don't do that right away, okay? We're gonna, when I get to the bottom of the chat and I'm kind of more like real time, I'm gonna ask you guys a question. Then you can actually answer the questions as we go through. So I think it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be interesting. And so for the past like half hour, I've been thinking, about the stations I listen to on shortwave and all of that. But anyways, we're going to come to that in not very long. So welcome aboard, everybody. This is the Shortwave Radio Show. We are in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And you know what? I'm just going to do a little something. Do this and this. Why? Because instead of sitting in the chair, I'm like, sitting in front of it. It's like, it's not super comfortable. Here we go. So, hey, everybody. This is the Shortwave Show. We are here live twice a week. We are on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 UTC. That means a big part of the world is actually Thursday. And we are live on Friday at 20 hours UTC, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And we talk about radio and have fun, and just a bunch of guys that are just having fun. And don't forget, when I use the guys includes girls. It's for me, it's guys is a bunch of people. It's not just men, it's also women. For some reason I get hit from time to time by probably some feminists somewhere that just like, thinks that guys is just a man term. And I never thought about it in that sense, honestly. For me, guys is really just a bunch of people. It never had a man versus woman connotation to it. And actually, a lot of women that watch the show and that watch my videos actually agree with me. Guys is everybody, man and women. So we're a bunch of humans. Now some ET, some extraterrestrial somewhere, some alien is going to come to me and say, hey, I'm watching your show from planet Mars, and you actually are saying human, so I feel excluded. Every creature in the universe. Let's call it like that. So we talk about radio. We're a bunch of people. That's a lot of fun. There's a nice chat room here when we do the live shows, which is really cool. And when all of that is over, and the chat room is over because the show isn't there anymore. Well, instead of being lonely in your man cave or women cave or alien cave, I hope aliens have caves too. There's a Facebook group, which is the official SWL channel Facebook group, which is an amazing place. People are really, really fun there. I mean, we're having a really good time, and we're having it's just really cool to have everybody around. And so you can join there, the Facebook group, and answer the radio questions, and say and you know what, you can interact with everybody. We're at 1,000 and let me check it out right now live. We are actually at 1,053 members. So that's pretty cool. And you know what? It is a polite group, a great group, and we are there to have fun with what we love, the passion we have for radio, which for a lot of us starts when we were young. For a lot of us starts when it's, sorry, I just got distracted because a friend of mine tagged me on Facebook and says, it's been a long time since we met up and had tequila shots. I was like, yeah. Okay. So anyways, great group, and we can continue sharing our passion. I want this to be a community of friendly people that are just having fun with radio. I want this to be a community where everybody feels like they're welcome. I'm tired of the whole grumpy ham that kind of laughs at you because you're just a shortwave listener and don't have your ham ticket. I'm tired of that. I can tell you one thing. I got a lot of hams that learned a lot of stuff that they should actually know because of my knowledge. So you know what? Don't think that a shortwave listener that doesn't have his ham ticket is a low life with no one that doesn't know anything. I can tell you. I think there's a lot of hams out there that I can actually show them how to use their ham license properly. And none of that crap. It's a great place, and people are fun, and we just want to have fun. And I want it to be a place where if you get that question you never asked before because you thought, well, must be a dumb question. There's no dumb questions. We all been there. We all been at the beginning. When I talk about my replacing my 100 feet of wire because I didn't receive Voice of Korea the next day, and thinking the wire must be broken, but in reality it was solar activity. I had no idea that that was part of the knowledge I didn't have back then, that the sun and solar activity interferes with that. And that knowledge also I had no idea of the differences of winter and summer and all of that, and it's just crazy. And it's we just don't know. We're not dumb. We just don't know. And here is a great place for all of us to learn about that. Honestly. And it's what I want, not only in the live shows, not only on the channel, but also on the Facebook group. We can just have fun among people that are friendly. And once again, no politics, no religion. We don't need that here. That's not the subject here. Anybody wants to talk politics? There are tons of places on the internet where you'll be able to do that. Want to talk religion? Tons of places where you can do that. This is not the place for that. The Facebook group is not the place for that. But if you want to talk radio, now this is the place for that. So welcome, everybody. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of the world, of North America. Where is northeast part of the world exactly? If you go northeast, you can always go northeast and continue northeast. So anyways, like I said, the shortwave capital of the world. Thanks to SDR Play for adding me to their blog. Since I started doing some videos of SDR Play devices and mentioning the live shows that we have here. So thank you very much for adding me to your blog, guys. I'm a big fan of all the SDR Play devices. And I mean, it's really cool that, people take time to appreciate what you do and help out at the same time. Okay, Mark Cope in Dallas, Texas. Good afternoon, WA5153 SWL. Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL, Morgan City, Louisiana. Roberto Rojas, Chin Chin. Hello, my friend. Nice to have you on board. Darius, good afternoon. And it's like in my picture and says, this radio Paul the Cat sat on. Did Paul the Cat ever sit on a radio? I don't think so. What he did once, which was really funny, is when so I'm still in the middle of scanning my QSL card collection, and I had opened my QSL book, and he went on the QSL cards and just decided that he wanted to sleep there. And I was like, oh, so your QSL card cat. It was just funny. Billy Lamont, nice to have you on board, Billy. Tom DXer, nice to have you on board from the Hudson Valley, New York. René Charbonnier from the Netherlands. It's wonderful to have you here. So it's really cool to have all of this. It's a grayish day in Montreal, but beautiful. It is 24 Celsius, which is about the mid 70s. Perfect temperature, even though it's gray. Theo, nice to have you on board, my friend. The Gaming Scout, nice to have you here. What else? William Helms, nice to have you on board from Fort Myers, Florida. Chrissy Freitas, hello there from Industy, Nashville, Tennessee. And nice to have you on board, Chrissy, as usual. Is it moving far? Like I read that there was so there's the Sahara Desert dust, which is a normal thing, gets over the ocean, and actually a lot of Caribbean islands often have that dust come in. But I was reading this week that there was like the one of the worst times, the worst dusts they've seen. And I thought I read that part of the United States would be hit by the dust coming from the Sahara Desert. Anybody in there? Is that dust from the from there, or is it just because it hasn't rained in such a long time? Howie, A3MCK, nice to have you here from Northeast Pennsylvania. Jeff Williams, nice to have you on board from Southwest Cornwall, UK. James Farley, nice to have you on board from Old Bridge, New Jersey. And yes, it's field day this weekend. This is a fun thing tomorrow. Really a lot of fun to monitor and to show the skills of amateur radio to everybody. Sheldon Harvey, good afternoon. Nice to have you here from Greenfield Park, Quebec. And I'm sure there's quite a few of you out there that are going to be participating into the field day maybe tomorrow. Jim and Robert Milligan, nice to have you on board. RJADA Dagoda, nice to have you here. WA0113 SWL. Wentzville, Missouri, nice to have you here. Rob in Phoenix, Arizona, hello there. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen from Massachusetts. Panasonic RF2200 came home today from restoration. Truly in love with its performance and looks. It is a very beautiful radio, I got to say. I saw the picture that you posted. Very beautiful radio. Clark Gilson, nice to have you on board. KB9SJD from Wisconsin. Matthew Kelleher with his full name today. Wow. Nice to have you here, MDK2 from Denver, Colorado. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir de t'avoir parmi nous. Eyebrawler from Arkansas. Nice to have you here. Joe Tyson from North Carolina. Matt says frozen beer would break the bottle or at least pop off the cap. Well, actually, it doesn't freeze until you open it. So when you open it, actually, that's, I've seen that a few times because to cool them off really, really fast, I put them in the freezer, and sometimes I forgot. So what happens is you twist the cap, and then you see the freezing go down slowly until the bottom of the bottle. It's kind of a cool thing to watch, though, I have to say. Chrissy is having Gold Peak lemonade tea. Cool. Shady Pyro 90 for Courtenay, BC. Nice to have you on board from British Columbia, Canada. Dijan from Bavaria, Germany. Nice to have you on board. Had 30 Celsius today. So hope not too many thunderstorms going to your area. John Pickney from Oakville, Virginia. W3XWT. Peter Robinson from Norwich, UK. Estrella Garcia, nice to have you here. Prasad from India, nice to have you on board. Must be quite early in the morning in your area. Kamexi76 says, Jill, you can be drunk. If you want, we still love you. So I've had my moments of being kind of tipsy on the live show. Danielle Shari, nice to have you here from Georgia. And we'll be listening to Shortwave for a beer. Joe Rudman from Chicago, nice to have you here. Cyberflyer1, nice to have you here from England. Radioactive, nice to have you on board, my friend. What else do we have? Matt and everybody saying hello to Elizabeth, of course. It's 1:30 a.m. in Goa, India. So nice to have you here, Prasad. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. Says Joel never takes a holiday. That is the joy of being your own boss. That is pretty much it. Like I was saying, I think on the last show, when I was a tech guy, when do people want you to go to their places to fix the computer? You have two choices: after work, or even better, when they're off work. So Saturdays, Sundays, holidays, they want to see you there. And, YouTube doesn't really know much holidays. The only times I take it maybe a little easy and a little more relaxed is Christmas and New Year. But even then, and it's not the same thing. I mean, this is work and not work at the same time. I mean, come on. Who would not be happy to have a paycheck that is related to what they love and listening to Shortwave and talking for hours? Well, maybe if you don't like to talk, Ernest Budvar, nice to have you here. And where can I pick up Irish stations? The only Irish station that I know of is Shannon Volmet in Ireland. So you'll be listening to the weather pretty much. There's really the only other thing is medium wave, probably, where you'd be listening to. And where are you located, Ernest? Rodrigo Galter, nice to have you on board from Brazil and listening with his Texan PL 660. Keegan, XN80Xer, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. What else do we have? Alejandro Navarro. Buenas noches. ¿Cómo está mi amigo? ¿Dónde España? I have a question. Can I use a transmitter as a receiver? Absolutely. Actually, ham transmitters and ham transceivers usually are very good receivers. Usually are really good receivers. DH, nice to have you here. It is interesting to see the differences. And, there's the differences from North America and Europe. There's the differences, even just a few hundred kilometers. Sometimes I'm amazed at sometimes just 500 or 1,000 kilometers, which in terms of how big the Earth isn't that far away, and in terms of shortwave signals too. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm 500 miles west of you, and I don't hear that, and you hear it well. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of funny. Papa Delta 5 Delta Radio Echo, nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? My sound is very good, thank you. I hope. John Pickney, nice to have you here. Eric Cottrell says it's likely a Karen that complained. Arthur's Out of Crafter was in a car accident yesterday. Hope that it isn't too bad. A lot of those, huh? Texting while they're actually using their cars. I see tons and tons of them. I remember I went to the grocery store 6 months ago. And I get to the grocery, and then I'm walking by. There's this woman that is really going slow on the street. and she's actually going slow because she's actually looking at her phone. And she sees me, and she smiles, and I'm like, I did like. She pulls down the window and she says, "Well, I'm looking for where I have to go." I said, "Yeah, while your car is running in the street, and that's first of all illegal and really stupid." And she's like, "Well, and she starts laughing. I said, "No, I'm sorry. It doesn't, that's dumb. You're dumb. That's it." I was like, "Come on." Rob, yes, I have to say hello to all carbon life forms. Dan, you know what? All the methane life forms are going to come and say, "Hey, we're here." Oh, man. Chrissy says, "I use guys or dude generally as a gender neutral word in the context of friendship and comrade. I am sensitive to those that don't like it, but generally I see no harm." Yeah, and that's, I understand that, we have to include everybody. I have to, there's a few women here, and I have to include everybody. But I don't know. For me, it's very innocent. For me, guys is, hey, it's everybody. Donald Hosmer, nice to have you here, my friend. Texting while driving is just as deadly as drinking while driving. Yeah. If you guys want to see that, find the episode from the Mythbusters where they had to do that course with the car. And they gave him, 2 beers, 3 beers? I think it was 3 beers. They had to do that course with the car. And then they did the same thing, but they had to use their phones while they were actually going through. And actually, it's worse. It's actually worse using your phone while driving than it is drinking a few beers. Brian Penny, nice to have you on board from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. What else do we have? Rodrigo Galter has the CNR Jammer Fire Drake on 9535. Oh, wow. Let me try it out here. 5535. I'm not sure I'm going to get that, but it's our curiosity. Honestly, I like when they use the Fire Drake. That kind of Chinese music they use there is just like so unique. It's almost fun to listen to it. Eric says a shortwave kumbaya moment. Scott Cranston, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Let me try to get down as fast as possible. Oh, what else do we have? Archer's Other Crafter's Kitchen says this is the best group for shortwave. Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. Daniel Monives, nice to have you here from Dublin, Ireland. Graham Taplin, nice to have you here, Graham. And yes, everything is going well today. Hal891, nice to have you on board from LA. Cool. Shitty Power is listening to M12 14817. Graham Taplin is from Milton, Ontario, Canada. What else do we have? So nice to have you here, Jeff Williams. No rants about Brother Stare. Hey, let's stay away from that. Matt, DK2 is testing his new fancy weather station. I wish it had the option of alternating between imperial and metric easily. Yeah, is mine easy to do so? No, yeah, I think it's a one button thing on mine. I just click on the back one of the buttons and it switches between both, but I'm not sure. But it's always complicated. It's always complicated, these things. John Edwin Snyder, nice to have you on board from Denton, Texas. Koramia Nikolai, nice to have you here from the land of Radio Romania International. Joe Tyson, SDR play devices are a game changer for shortwave listeners. Yep, absolutely. Hey, Carl, nice to have you on board. Erica Charles says SDR play folks are a great group. I met them at Dayton. Actually, John Hudson from the SDR play group has joined the Facebook group, official SWL group, from what I see. Catalin, how can I use SDR Sharp with the RSP1A? I've never tried, so I don't know. Does anybody use the SDR Sharp software with the RSP1A? And is it possible to do so? Peter Robinson, nice to have you here. L891 loves la fin du monde. And Les Trois Pistoles. Yeah, that's a good beer, too. It's dark beer. Larry Stevens from Newark, Ohio. Nice to have you here. David, KJ4CMY. Nice to have you here, my friend. Toastbroad TV. Nice to have you here. KJ Walda. Nice to have you from the Netherlands. A beer, one radio. Still 27 degrees Celsius at 22 in the evening. This is a great show, and life is good. And yes, it is. Honestly, come on. We're enjoying our favorite hobby. We're doing stuff that we, last night I had that moment. I was outside with my Sangean ATS 909X. And for those of you that have seen it, I posted there was a ham station from New Zealand on 20 meters that had a hell of a good signal. So I listened to that ham from it was like from maybe, local time was 10 p.m. It was like 02 UTC on to, I don't know, he signed off somewhere around 03:30 or something. But man, he had a good signal. And I had tons of stations here. I even heard a couple of stations here near Montreal that actually were able to communicate with him. Man, it was so cool to hear a New Zealand ham radio station. And when he actually signed off, I went to 13840 for Radio New Zealand, which, man, that signal last night was perfect. I think anybody with a portable radio and decently in decent environment, it was crazy strong, and I think everybody could receive that in North America last night. And it's just cool. I mean, New Zealand is on the other side of the earth compared to Montreal, basically. It's just amazing. I think they use 100 kilowatts. Are they using 100 kilowatts? I think they are. I still remember when I heard Radio New Zealand and my first QSL card. Back then, Radio New Zealand was using only 7.5 kilowatts, if I'm not mistaken. Their transmitters were not very strong. Today, they are 100 kilowatt transmitters, but wow. Radioactive Gulf states will be receiving the Africa disc this year. Yeah, I read about that this week. Eric Cottrell says, unfortunately, SDR Sharp is related to Hairspy and considered the SDR Play as a competition. They crippled SDR Play support. Okay. So you better use SDR Console or SDR Uno. There is competition, yes, but I don't know. Chris C. says, it is the dust from there. It's made its way through much of the U.S. already, including here in Nashville. Okay. Kind of interesting. Crazy when you think about it, that the dust from a desert that's thousands and thousands of kilometers away is making its way all the way to North America. It's crazy when you think about it. I knew that phenomena existed because I had read about it many years ago. But I remember the first time I'd heard that many years ago, I was so amazed. There's a good thing about it, though. Apparently, it breaks the formation of hurricanes. So there's kind of a positive side on it, I guess. David KJ4CMY will be on the air tomorrow from his backyard location. Matt says, this will be my first actual field day. I won't be showing off too many skills since I'm operating at home on standard power. But this year, my kind of station counts in the scoring. Cool. I would see myself, if I'd be a ham and wanted to participate, what I would do is set up in my backyard on the grass with, I don't know, some battery or some solar panels or something with a makeshift wire in the air and something. I'd like that. I'd be the guy that would like really build a station from like scratch, you know. Larry Cordy from Binghamton, New York. Nice to have you on board. Keegan, my dad, W9JEF, will be participating in a field day tomorrow. Cool. Marcelo Fabiani from Bolivia. ¿Cómo está, mi amigo? Jean-François Tudel, salut et bienvenue de la rive sud de Montréal. VE2WMJ. Nice to have you here, and thank you very much. Michael Langer, nice to have you on board. Shitty Pyro 907055, lower sideband vodka time hour. Hearing someone cussing about Russia. Yeah, that's what we were talking on the International Radar Report of last week. 7055, lower sideband. There's a lot of stuff happening there. And there was a post actually the other day. I don't know who posted it. I don't remember who. But somebody posted, I'm hearing stuff on 7055 and music. And, well, I think there's like Ukraine and Russia that are kind of going at it on that frequency. Rick, W8PRR in Ohio. Nice to have you here. WOHP1390. Tiziano Grigio. Nice to have you here. IW3M from Italy. Pretty cool to have you here. So Tiziano Grigio. John Pickney. No field day tomorrow in Virginia. Unable to park space or other areas to get park space. Okay. Matt says, interesting about the frozen beer. My personal experience comes from finding all the old leftover stuff in the friend's father's trailer. He had some Coors in cans, and they were all mishappen from freezing. Yeah, what happens a lot is, and I've seen that so many times, it's kind of a cool thing to look at. You leave it in the freezer, and beer in the freezer tends to not. So this is Fin du Monde at 9%. As long as it's not open, it tends to stay liquid. And then you take it out and you uncap it, and immediately you see it freeze. It's kind of fun to look at, actually. It's kind of you look at it and it's like, wow, science in action with beer. William Helms says, started breaking my neck looking for the dust storm. Definitely nothing I've experienced before. Matt says, tipsy Gilles equals entertaining ranting Gilles doing a 6-hour show. Jerry DX, nice to have you on board, my friend. Mark Cope, nice to have you here. Notice beer makes for a better and longer live shows versus your vodka drink. Yeah, well, if I have all the beer next to me, I can actually just pick out the beer. Well, the vodka, I have to go and make another one. So I have to get up and, so often I don't do it. Matambali, nice to have you here. Diet sodas explode when it gets below freezing because you forgot and left some outside on the patio. Oops, sounds like you're under attack. Dijan, yes, I do. It's called Création Tube. I do have my own company. Calvin, nice to have you here. W29 or 001. Al891 question. Starting shortwave, do I get a RadioWow R108 or go SDR? If I go SDR, what hardware? Both Mac and PC. So if you are, that's a tough one. I honestly, I'd say get both. Because the RadioWow R108 is a standalone little portable, and you'll be able to go everywhere with that. SDR, well, you have to use a computer or a device. Honestly, personally, for shortwave, I think the only entry-level SDR you can consider is the SDR Play RSP1A. It's really good. And for the price, it's the best starter SDR you can get. Then after that, well, there are other SDRs with higher price tags that you can check out. But for entry level, I think you really SDR Play RSP1A is the way to go. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's the RTL SDR dongles and stuff. Like I usually have it here. It is. I mean, this is okay, but nothing more than okay. You're better off immediately getting into the SDR Play RSP1A. As for Mac and PC, the problem is the software. Software on PC side is so much more choice available for different for all the SDRs than Mac. Unfortunately, SDR Uno is not yet available for Mac. Version 2 apparently will be available for Mac and Linux, but it's not yet. I got tipsy a time or two. Come on, I don't do that. Calvin says there's Atlantic 252 in Ireland on long wave, so they're still on. Bill Fagan, nice to have you here, my friend. Says Saharan dust storm hitting Cuba now. It's heading to the U.S. Cheers. Nice to have you here, Bill. G7IUI in the U.K. Mountain Lover, KE4PGW. Nice to have you here. Catalin asks how far a medium wave station can reach. Honestly, it can reach halfway around the world in perfect conditions. So of course, medium wave, daytime, nighttime is a big difference. Daytime is ground wave, so daytime is maybe 100-200 kilometers. I remember when we would go up north when I was young, we were about 130, maybe 120 kilometers from Montreal. And I remember that we could hear Montreal stations through ground wave, but they weren't very strong, but they were there. But as far as nighttime conditions or darkness paths, so now the medium wave stations, actually the medium wave signal can actually bounce off the ionosphere like a shortwave signal. It doesn't bounce off very high because it bounces off at the lowest point of the ionosphere. So the hops are not as big as a shortwave signal on higher frequencies. Also, the most medium wave stations are omnidirectional, so they radiate their signal equally everywhere or with a pattern, but it's not like a shortwave beam where you send your signal to another country. So that makes it a little harder for medium wave stations to reach really far away. But you can hear stations on medium wave from really far, and I've heard a few stations from Europe in the past, and even as I was. When CJ80 did that, they put the transmitter off on 800 kilohertz for what was it? Was it CJ80? No, what was it? No, it was CBS 880 from New York that did that, and they went off the air for a while. We could DX 880 with other stations because here WCBS 880 is very strong, but we could distinctly hear a very strong carrier I think it was on 882, which was the BBC actually. So in quiet and in perfect conditions, we might have been able to hear actually the BBC station here in Montreal. Glenn, USA RET, nice to have you on board. KB9IN, Army retiree. So does that mean USA retired, Glenn? Now that I see you're an Army retiree. What else do we have? So high-risk station on 252 kilohertz. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I remembered it, but I wasn't sure if they were still on. John Pigney says the Grundig Yacht Boy 300p from eBay that was dead on arrival last Friday only needed batteries. Very decent. Cool. Yeah, it is I have one here. It is a decent performer. It's okay in what it does, James Johnson, nice to have you on board. Really aggravated. Got only noise now on my shortwave radios in the corner that I'm set up. I think the neighbor next door to me hooked up a dialysis. Yeah, noise, unfortunately, noise, you got to live with it. Every time I have new neighbors, I'm always a little stressed at, what new noise is the new neighbor going to bring? And it's always kind of a stressful situation there, for sure. Yeah, texting and driving in Quebec is also out loud, but man, so many people still do it. Wolfgang Platzer, nice to have you on board from Austria. Let me just check it out here. What else do we have? Shelly, nice to have you on board, and she doesn't mind the word guys, because I use it all the time too. Do women say, hey guys, among women? So say you're out at a bar with you're all, with your girlfriends. And you guys are all women. Does it happen that you'll say, hey guys? I think I've seen that. I think I've seen in a bar once, like a bunch of women, and one came to the table and said, hey guys. I think it happens. Rufus Newt from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Done work and having a brew. Now that is perfect. Jim and Robert Milligan says strange signals on 6660 LSB. What does it sound like? Could it be you should be on upper sideband? 6660 I think is in the middle of the aeronautical band. So there could be communications and some cell call tones. Matt says the fire drake is far more interesting than CNR1, and it also leaves no doubt if you're getting jamming instead of the station you're jamming. That also, because how many times did we see posts? Oh, I heard a Sound of Hope Taiwan, or I heard Radio Free Asia. And every time I see a post like that, it rings in my head. It rings a little bell that you sure haven't heard China National Radio instead. And I'm sure there are ways to differentiate, even if you don't speak Mandarin or whatever. But most of the time, I always I think you heard CNR1. It usually beats the hell out of every other station because of its power. But the fire drake, at least. Is the jamming. There's no doubt about it. At least if they would use fire drake all the time, it would be easy to know that, oh, look, I am hearing Radio Free Asia today, DGen expected to have some severe thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon. wire antenna will be unplugged, and I hope that nothing happens. Nothing will happen. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But John Picnic, cops do whatever they want. Here, my neighbor on the other side of the street, her son is a provincial police. He comes here with the provincial police car from time to time. And you know what he does? Because he doesn't want to do the whole roundabout. He doesn't want to go and, to come back because this street goes only in one sense. He actually looks, and if no cars are coming, he actually goes in the wrong way up to the house and then parks. And every time I see that, I'm like, how the hell do you want us to trust you and feel that we're not being screwed by the cops when you do that when we can't? Every time I see it, it makes me mad. I'm like, you got rules, and the rules for everybody, the cops also. Hello, Anna Pidja, whatever. I'm sorry for whatever name it is. Been a couple of years since last time I had time to watch a live show. Well, welcome aboard. Where are you located? John received the World Radio TV Handbook 2020 this week. Actually, there's a lot of stuff that changed compared to 2018. Yeah, I except for the years where I was really intense with shortwave, I would buy it every 2 or 3 years in general. The information does change from year to year somewhat. And when you are looking for a good email address and everything, I think it is worth it to upgrade it. Contact information, stuff like that. And so there's a lot of change over time. What else do we have? Archer's Other Crafters will stay away from Brother Stare, but the on-the-air feud between him and Glenn Hauser is absolutely incredible. It's the only time I actually listen to Brother Stare is when he starts ranting at Glenn Hauser. I still remember that time that I stumbled on Brother Stare. I remember saying to myself, "Oh man, Brother Stare," but I listened for a second, and it was like, I want to tell to Mr. Hauser that I'm spending millions of dollars on these broadcasts and blah, blah, blah. And like, oh man, he's really ranting at Glenn Hauser now. It's like the feud between it's really getting the like when he's ranting at Arnie Coro of Radio Havana, Cuba. Max Edstrong, nice to have you on board from Michigan. Are you guts at level 2? What? I don't understand, Jerry. I'm missing something here. Kodo Nikolai, is there a way to record the sound from XH data D808 with line in or something like that? The only recording you could do is either with some microphone or using the headphone jack and injecting the output from the headphone jack into a line in, for example. That would probably work with an adapter. You would be able to record. Problem is you when you put something in the headphone jack, the radio's audio on the speaker is gonna stop. Marcelo Fabiani, can I use the ICOM SDR20 with the SDR Uno? Nope. They aren't. The R20 is not an SDR. It's a receiver, and the output from it, the control that you have is you can have it controlled by a computer, and that's it. So it's not made to be used with, Chrissy says maybe someone can make a YouTube channel called Two Beers and a Radio. That'd be nice. 2 beers and a radio. Today's show is brought to you by Joshua Wentz. Nice to have you here. Joshua KB2ETZ from Cortland, New York. Nice to have you here. Martin Hare. Nice to have you here, Martin, from Norwich, United Kingdom. Keegan had some e-skip earlier this afternoon. I need to dish out one of my radios and try. When I hear 6 meters open, I need to try the FM band a little bit. For sure. Cuban Station Radio Progresso 90.3 in Havana. Wow. That is so cool. That is so cool. Man. Bobby Burgess says SDR play can also be used with HD SDR and cubic SDR. Eric Cottrell, Voice of Greece on 9420. Check it out. Voice of Greece, 9420. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. Bobby Burgess says can do it with GQRX, but haven't been able to unlock all the features. Max Armstrong, anyone have a Reticus V115? Got one for $12 and am waiting for battery to charge. Very excited. Yeah, the Reticus V115 is the same as the Tivdio V115. They are the same radio. I owned one, and it's amazing what you get for the price of that package, but its internal circuitry is very noisy. And you'll, test it out. My experience with it was not very good. Yeah, DGen, they apparently they send skulls and all sorts of designs through the waterfall. Absolutely, DGen. RJDA Dakota, at one time Radio New Zealand International was about 2.5 kilowatts. They raised the power to the 7.5 you were talking about. Recently, in the past 10 years, they raised the power to the current 100 kilowatts. Yeah, because I remember when I got my first QSL, they were 7.5. Mickey Delmage, nice to have you here from a steamy Sherwood Park. Feels like Montreal. I just sent you a picture, by the way. Did you receive those old interval signals I sent you? Yes, I did. Every time you send me an email or send an email to ask us that, I always want to reply back, yes, I received the interval signals. And I always forget to say it. Unfortunately, I left my phone somewhere, and I don't know where. So I won't be able to show the picture. Nice to have you here. Alexis Irving, nice to have you here. Alexis from the UK. Hunter Carver, nice to have you on board from North Carolina. Wilmington, North Carolina, the beach. Blind Picker, nice to have you here. Rob in Connecticut. W0RAB. Blind Ham, love the show. Thank you very much. We have a couple of blind viewer, listeners to the show, including Elizabeth from Regina, Saskatchewan. She listens to the show and really, really loves it. She has the Kenwood R5000 with that voice synthesizer, so she knows what buttons she pressed, and it gives her the frequency that she's tuned to, which is kind of cool. Vasti, nice to have you here. It says Molson XXX. Yum. I'm not a fan of Molson of anything, but maybe I should try it. What else do we have? Hey, David in Barcelona. EA3IEK Raptor 22 Stealth. ¿Cómo está mi amigo? James Johnson have the A115. Great radio for what it costs. Wolfgang says, does anybody know or have one of the standalone SDRs, Malakit DSP or Afredi Line IQ SDR? Yeah, there's a couple of I know that on the Facebook group, there's a few users that do have the standalone SDRs. Oh yeah, if you have a Mac, there's two ways you can have some stuff working. I mean, if you are on a Mac, you can dual boot. That means you can dual boot to Windows, which is the best way, because when you dual boot into Windows, you're really having a Windows machine that works like a Windows machine. But you can also use Parallels or what's the other one? I don't remember the other name, to have a virtual Windows within your Mac, and that will work with most of the SDR stuff. Radioactive have a lot of money to spend on an SDR. When radio is probably hard to beat. You know, there's a few SDRs that are high-end, that's for sure. William Helms, isn't that what Field Day is for? To test being able to workstations for help in case of a disaster? That's pretty much what Field Day is made for. Absolutely. John McClure, nice to have you on board. Oh yeah, nothing beats the anticipation of a new radio. Absolutely. That I, you know. The best is play with it, you know, honestly. Just play around with it. I think that's, you know, that's the best thing. And, you know, I mean, for $12, I would have jumped on it anyways. Also, I would have like, oh, $12 for that. Let's go. Let's play around. I was happy to receive it. It's surprising what it does. There is one aspect of it that is amazing: the sound quality. It sounds so good for that radio. It's crazy. And I remember I actually used it for an MP3 player when I would listen to some music. A little SD card in it. I mean, what is amazing on that is all the features that it can do for the price. I mean, it's, you know, it's not the best performer, but you gotta. I'm amazed at still all the stuff that it could do, and it's the only radio at that price that actually has a keypad to enter the frequency, which is also quite amazing. George Gregoriou, nice to have you on board from New York. RJ Dakota has actually received a FM station from the island of Bermuda. Very strange. Eli Skip, like, that is very unusual. Connected an RCA FM AM valve receiver to an outdoor TV antenna. Oh, cool. Legion, the flat below us is sold. Hope new neighbors don't bring any new noise. Yeah, that's always the scary part. PLF Radio, Greece, 9420 right now. Voice of Greece. Radioactive. Too bad you cannot line your office with copper mesh to create a Faraday cage. Oh, man. Shelly says, yes, my friends in groups on forums, we all say, hey, guys. So, you know, I think guys can be thought of as a gender neutral. You know, it replaces hey, gang. You know, I mean, it's natural. Rodelva 65, nice to have you here from New York City. Radioactive has HFDL 6661 upper sideband, which is a digital transmission for aeronautical purposes. George Gregoriou, Sony ICF 2010 incoming, but the seller described works intermittently. Contact cleaner on the power switch. I have and love my father's ICF F7600JR, hoping the 2010 will be best. You know, intermittent could be easy to fix, like it could be a hell of a big problem. Let's cross your fingers. It's possible that it's only electrical contacts, and by cleaning the contacts and all of that, you might actually have a great working radio. As long as it's not a intermittent problem because of the electronics, you'll be okay. Matt says, when it comes to CNR1 jammer, the most telltale thing is the time pips on the hour. None of their targets use time pips. That's what I always tell everybody. So when I see a recording and I hear the time pips, I was like, that was not Radio Free Asia or whatever. It was CNR1. Kevin Jane Apollo, WS2H. Nice to have you on board, my friend. DGen, someone next door is using these dreadful, awful PLC devices causing bad noise. Oh, man. You know, the biggest problem with that is that nobody cares anymore. Nobody really cares anymore. Today, everybody is just like, even though everybody, everywhere, it's stated that, I'm sure some of you have seen that. You buy an electronic device, and at the end, there's the FCC or the here in Canada, Industry Canada or CRTC or whatever. It says, if this causes interference to others, you have to cease using the device and blah, 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 blah. And you're like, Try calling the FCC or calling the authority of whatever communication in your country and say, well, my neighbor's bought a new TV and it's messing up with my shortwave radio. You're probably going to get some kind of answer like, deal with it, live with it. Who cares? I'm a shortwave rebel. I like that. I am a shortwave rebel. I'll always be a shortwave rebel. So better accept that. Eric Cottrell, I really like the Enablia Titan SDR. If money was no object, it is from an Italian company. Interesting. I mean, if money was no object, we would have so many of these devices. So many of these devices. Yeah, but DGen, I would not hope too much. You know why? Because the noise measurements. So a lot of devices, when we use them, are very noisy and like low frequencies. But the higher in frequency you get to, the lower the amount of noise it emits. That is really seriously impacting. And you know what? I don't think First of all, I don't think anyone will ever go to a place to measure whatever. And second of all, I think we're, as a hobby for shortwave and amateur radios, also amateur radio operators. All I'm going to say is that we're on our own, and we have to deal with whatever. So, hey, Kevin Jane Apollo, now that you're talking about it, I'm going to have some recommendations. I'm just going very fast, as possible, to the bottom of the chat, and we're going to talk because somebody asked me to give the 10 favorite things that I listen to, and I'm going to have some recommendations that will be actually available for tonight for shortwave. Ricardo Silva, nice to have you here from Portugal. Arthur Carver says, more beer. Nice to have you on board, everybody. Southwest Germany, cool. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Let's go down. Radioactive says, only 2 beers. Ricardo Silva has been DXing on his new National GX400M. and have some questions. So ask away. You know, PLF Radio, I had a channel that was called the Official Beer and Wine Channel because I wanted, with my nephew, to do something very down to earth. It was the channel where we would drink different beers, different wines, and be the guy that doesn't know anything about wine or whatever. Just two average guys telling you, I like this because of this reason. I hate this because of that reason. Not any mumbo jumbo. It has these little fruit flavors of raspberries and like nothing like that. It's like, okay, this is the worst beer I ever had. Do you like it? It tastes like dirt. You know, that kind of channel. And it would be two average guys just talking about how they like or hate whatever they're drinking. And it's still there. I'd have to look, but it was something called, like, if I remember well, I called it the Official Beer and Wine Channel, and I think I have 3 or 4 videos. One talks about the French Grey Goose vodka. I don't remember what else that I did there, but my intention was to have a night with my nephew, and I think it would have been fun because we would have been drinking on that channel, and we would have been, as time went by, it would have been degrading probably. But so that was one. The other one that I think would have been fun to continue is so in there's another channel which is old video games. I had some live shows with my nephew where we would play games on old computers and drink, and as time went by, we were like, it was crazy. I know some viewers from a tech channel particularly were looking at that and it was like, oh man, you guys are so funny getting drunk playing video games. Oh man. Darius, 2 beers, 1 cut it, Joe. Make it 6-pack of beers and a radio plus a nice, good-looking cat. Oh man, Joe, something on you. It's nice to have you here. Vasti ordered an XH Data D808 Saria review. Well, you know what? You're going to be happy with that. It's an amazing radio. W1INC. Legion says, I once thought that I received Sound of Hope. Unfortunately, it was not, but nonetheless, Sound of Hope verified the report. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of these stations that don't verify and just say, "Hey, thank you for your report." Ricardo Silva, what I would say is that probably you're having the bleed through on that low frequency. You're having a bleed through of either a medium wave station that is strong and making some interference on the maritime band, or you are going to have some kind of overload from a shortwave station, because there's no known station that broadcasts in the low maritime band around 1.6, 1.7 megahertz in Europe. So you're having some overload from either a medium wave station or a shortwave that's really strong. Scott Cranston, any chance you could do a video about decimation and the SDR Uno and what it's for? Yeah. You know what? I will post a little something here. So anybody, SDR Uno, question for or feature, send me an email at official shortwave radio at gmail.com. Okay? Tell me what you don't understand, what you'd like to know. Send me all of those questions. It's nice because it's going to kind of send me in directions where I'll do the videos and post them. Because I want to do a lot of videos on explaining everything of SDR Uno. And so, yeah. I'm going to go through all of that. Absolutely. I want to make a lot of videos to help everybody. Oh, really? William Helms trashed a V115 attempting to put shield on it. Yeah. That was not a good experience from what I see. Chip Films TV, nice to have you on board from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Estoy bien. Muchas gracias. Cool, David. Going down. Going down. Let's go down. Let's go down. Let's go down. George Gregorio waiting for a Heathkit frequency counter to come in, and I can finally align my own radios. Cool. Field day. Our designer Crafter's Kitchen is really excited for the field day. Wolfgang, what do you think about this standalone SDR I mentioned before? I don't have a lot of read a lot about it or have a lot of experience. So, I don't own one. But I know the Belka and a few of them seem to be interesting. I think it could be very, very interesting. But I've never tried one. And all I can say is I've seen a couple of videos. I've seen some reviews. And they look promising. They look interesting. DXing receives so much from RTI lately. Radio Taiwan International. They are the only broadcaster who sends out pennants, stickers, QSL. Wow, I'm gonna send a reception report for the French service on Sunday. I want to have all those pennants and stuff. Hey, I sent my first reception report in a long time this week. And it started out with, so it was the Voice of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I sent it to the English service with the address and the World Radio TV handbook. And the email bounced back. Sent to the English, to the French, it bounced back. And I sent it to the German service, and it didn't bounce back. So hopefully I'm going to have a QSL and stuff there. Al891 ordered a Radiwell R108. So it's a nice radio. So just very quickly, I'm going to start talking about my favorite broadcasters. 4chan Research Division, quick question. I have a Radiwell R108. How do you activate the long wave function? It says it has, but I can't use it. Yeah, you got to, the long wave functionality goes with, I believe, the 9 or 10 kilohertz. I don't have my Radiwell here. Anybody quickly have the answer? It's a button that you hold while it's actually turned off, if I remember well. You hold that button and it changes. I think the long wave band, you get it by, I think it's when you change from 9 to 10 kilohertz. If you change to 9 kilohertz, which is normally for Europe, I remember it was something annoying. When you change to 9 kilohertz spacing, which is for Europe, you actually turn on the long wave reception. And when you turn to 10 kilohertz, which is North America, it actually removes the long wave functionality. It's something like that. Thomas Olson, thoughts on the best 3 to 5 portable radios under $250? Without SSB or without single sideband, the Raddy R108, the Texan PL310ET, those are around 50. With single sideband, XH Data D808, C Crane, CC Skywave SSB. What else? Texan receivers like the Texan PL660, amazing radio. Since you're at 250, well, you could actually add a Texan PL880 in there at that price range. So those would be some of the recommendations. If you like or want to use, so you say portable, but you got SDRs in there, like the SDR Play RS PDX, for example. Wolfgang Platzer says, for me, all the radios I got last couple of months, XH Data, Texan PL660, 360, SDR Play RSP1A, Belka DSP. I think the best performance on the shortwave was the Belka DSP followed by the RSP1A. So interesting. Matambalin 13740, your signal radio van in Cuba 13740. Ricardo Silva, yes, they don't care anymore. In the past, boards with processors were plate shielded, so it contained the RF and the processing, but now only plastic and lots of noise. Absolutely. Vianney Arsenault, salut, bienvenue. Bonne fête pour mercredi passé. Wolfgang says he ordered a mini whip, ordered from Ukraine, but is much too noisy, grounded it, but still a lot better. The MLA30 is better. The mini whip is actually a good antenna. If you look at the U20 receiver, that's what they use, and it's crazy sensitive. But the problem is you have to be in a low noise place and low noise environment. If it's noisy, the mini whip is just going to amplify noise, where the MLA30 actually removes some of that, and that's at least a good thing about it. So, okay. Oh, my dishwasher. When my dishwasher works, I have these little buzzing in the display here. Osvaldo Barreto went back to practicing dark radio because this good channel. Cool. Matt says your official beer and wine channel sounds like something Bob and Doug McKenzie would do. I would guess. 45 unit. Nice to have you here. Charlie X, you would have to wear French berets while doing the wine channel. Oh, man. James Johnson, my wife calls me a radio freak. I only have 200 radios. You are a radio freak. Like I am, and like a lot of us are here. D-Gen, when was the last time I really got drunk? It was last year at a... I went with my nephew to a Japanese sake event. So it was companies from all over the world, but mostly Japanese companies. They were having us taste all the different sakes. And I mean, there was some amazing stuff in there. There were some that were so good that me and my nephew, we were like, oh man, this is great. A lot of it is private imports, but we really got drunk. That was last October. We got so drunk that I shouldn't say this, but we were downtown. It was a beautiful night that night. We were actually downtown, and laying in the grass next to one of those one of the statues of I don't know who. I don't even remember who it was. And it was like, man, I'm so drunk. We drank so much sake that night. That was the last time I got real drunk. 45 units says 87 feels like 104 in Florida. Wonder if the Sahara dust we are getting down here will affect the signals. I don't think it's going to affect signals. On the low frequency, like I say quite often, on the low frequencies, below 30 megahertz, shortwave, long waves, medium wave, weather, dust, snow, rain has very little effect. Very little effect on the signals, but it might have effect as you go higher in VHF, UHF frequencies, though. Joe Summer on you asked, you realize that you're drunk when start listening to CW with the radio turned off. Oh man. Osvaldo Barreto is going to open a beer now. Oh yeah, that is crazy, man. The jamming of Cuba, the amount of imagine the amount of money China puts in jamming. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, let's Mickey Delmage, after several follow-ups emails to Radio Bahrain, I finally got a reply this week. Unfortunately, they said because my radio file was 5 years old, they could not verify that their log file. Who cares? Send a darn QSL. Instead of answering and saying that, why don't you just say, okay, thank you so much for listening. We're sending you a QSL. And that's it. Come on. Come on. Oh, God. What else do we have? Charles Ethan, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, thank you, Dijon. Please do send me all of that. When is the elderly radio supposed to arrive? I'm waiting for it any day now. I'm actually surprised I didn't get it this week because, I mean, it's been in Vancouver since June 21st. And so I thought, well, maybe this week. Well, I guess it's going to be next week. But I should get it any day now. Frank Ireland, when and what frequency Radio Thailand International, Radio Taiwan International be heard in Eastern US? So the only real good frequency and time is via WRMI relay in Spanish. Unfortunately, there's no English language relay. But if you understand Spanish, they do have RTI relay in Spanish. And that is, check it out here. Check it out here, Taiwan. So, man, via WRMI, I think they're in the evening. Let me just check it out here. So, via WRMI, they are, trying to find the darn. It's to South America, I believe. So Radio Taiwan, Spanish transmission that is easily heard from Okeechobee is on 7780. And it's from 22 to 2230 and 02 to 0230 on 7780. So 02 0230, 22 2230, via WRMI on 7780. It's Spanish. The one that I listen to is from Issoudun, France, on Sundays only, and it's on something like 13835. I think it's 13835. 13835. Yep. 13835. Radio Taiwan International. Sundays only. Sunday only. From 19 to 20 UT. On in French. That's the one I'm going to send a report to. It's a decent signal here on the East Coast. Nicholas Heyer, nice to have you here. Jake Fielder, nice to have you here, Jake. Thanks, Graham, for the answer. So on the D808, and I think the R108 is the same. With the radio off, press and hold for 2 seconds. So I don't know. Yeah. You're a young guy, Vianney. A young man. Hey, Hubert. Nice to have you here, Hubert. BKS 9900. Nice to have you on board. Give me information about the Walbrook ALA 1530 active magnetic loop antenna. It's a great antenna, but it's expensive, and I can't recommend these antennas anymore. When you think of how the MLA30 is as good, pretty much as good, for such a low price. What else do we have? Arcadarius needs good moonshine. Says, I need some good moonshine. Jeff Barrett, nice to have you on board from Cincinnati, Ohio. Tom DXer, I worked for a Japanese company for 27 years and had a lot of sake. It goes down so easily. It is. Yeah, especially warm. But you really, really pay for it the next day. Yeah. But you know what? I'll tell you one thing, Tom DXer. Like I was telling my nephew, drink the same amount of alcohol in beer form to get the same level of alcohol, blood alcohol, and do it with sake. I only bet you're going to be less. You're not going to be as hungover the next morning with sake. Because I told my nephew, I told him the next day, I said, we were really drunk last night. I was thinking that it was going to be bad, and it actually wasn't that bad the next day. So let me pour my beer number 2. But I can tell you, sake. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to have some sake. I told my nephew we're going to do some. So I'm actually bringing a recipe of okonomiyaki, which is Japanese pancakes made out of it's like it's made out of cabbage, and they are amazing. So I have the recipe, and I did that recipe a couple of times here, and I really, really fell in love with the okonomiyaki. And so since now we can actually meet inside, I told him, so how about tomorrow? So we're going to have that. We're going to have sake, and we're going to play video games. It's going to be a fun night. What else do we have? Matt has Mexican truckers on 26585. Wow. What else do we have? Ricardo Silva talking a noise in Alentejo in south of Portugal, rural area. I love to go there. No noise. I mean, anywhere. When we go outside and we go somewhere, hey, the Proud Geek, talking about the Proud Geek. Did you get the sake, Proud Geek, for the okonomiyaki for tomorrow? Because we're gonna need the. We're gonna need that. Tell me how much I owe you for the sake. I'll be happy to pay my part. Dijon, RTI resumed the French broadcast for Europe just this year on 6005 via Bulgaria. If there are enough listeners in North America, you could all try writing to RTI, and it'd be fun to have an English language. Yeah, Vienna. You know, we just I think, you know, the number changes, but inside we don't, you know. I always joke how when somebody asks me, so do you feel older? I said, no, in my head I'm still not allowed into bars. Proud Geek, some cold sake is great, and we have this sake festival in Montreal, the Kampai. Yeah, Kampai it was called. Super cool. We got to drink 25 different sake. Oh man, some were so amazing. I still remember. My nephew is 14. No, I'm joking, Dijon. The Proud Geek is what, 27, something like that. How old are you, Proud Geek? Something like 27 or 25 or it's 27, 26. I don't know. I always forget that. 28. There you go. 28. Vianney says, red wine, but it's just my first bottle. I hope. Nicolas Ayer. Drinking and radio. So, yeah, it's going to be nice. You're going to like that. I fell in love with the okonomiyaki Japanese pancakes. Honestly. Graham Huff from the UK. Nice to have you on board. Jeff Barrett has 26715 into Cincinnati. Free banding in Spanish. Let's check it out here. 26715. Anything happening here? Not a lot of stuff. Let's go to 27, the Super Bowl channel. Nope. Seems to be very quiet here, actually. So, Proud Geek, I got 2 bottles of Snow Maiden sake. They have it like once every 2 years at the liquor store. So, bought a few bottles last time I saw it. Cool. So, I think we're going to have fun tomorrow. We're going to have even more fun. I will introduce you to a famous game on the Atari 2600 that is called the Catalan. And the fun, that's going to be a fun game to play with you and me, honestly. It's really, really cool. I think we're going to have fun tomorrow. Kevin Janapalo, when I was stationed in Okinawa back in 86, I had Habu Sake. It has a poisonous snake in the bottle decomposing. I was wrecked for almost 1 full day. Oh, man. No, Jerry DX, sake is very different. It's an alcohol made with rice. So it has a very distinct taste to it. Very, very different. It's not as strong at hard liquor. So sake usually doesn't have 40%. Sake will be more in the 10, 14, 15% range for a lot of it. I don't know if there's probably some stronger sakes for sure, but it's a very unique taste. And a lot of the sake you drink warm, and it's, I don't know, you got to taste it to really. It's very different from anything else that you have drank in your life. That's for sure. Sake has very, very distinct taste. It can't compare to any other alcohol in the way that it tastes. So, time for the broadcasting. Time for the broadcasting of stations. What are my favorite stations? Proud Geek has a little rum and coke after a golf round. Oh ho, cool. City Skyline. No, I've never played that. Proud Geek says there's not enough sake. He's got enough booze to put a whale to sleep. Eric Cottrell says, had a Japanese fusion restaurant near my old works location. I really liked the bento boxes. Proud Geek says, sake is something you won't necessarily drink many glasses the first time, but you develop a taste for it. Yeah, and the ones that we tasted at the festival was amazing. Tony Turtle is ready. So, okay, guys. With popular demand, some of the stations that I listen to and frequencies, and actually, let's have some suggestions for tonight. I know some of you are in Europe, so it might be a little different. I'm going to try to please everybody and get something. So the question that was asked is, what are the top 10 or at least 10 of your favorites, signal stations, whatever, be it broadcast or not, that you listen to on shortwave? Okay. So one of the first things that I will do, especially on the weekend, but every day, will often be checking out the pirate bands. So I think that is fair to say. So you guys in Europe have tons of pirates. Here in North America, we have quite a lot. Lately, we've been, especially with COVID-19, all the pirate guys probably didn't have work, so they had time to do more pirating. So anyways, check out the pirate bands and check out HF Underground for the information. I think that's some of my favorite listening, honestly. Pirate stations. William Moser, nice to have you here. The other broadcast that I like to listen to, so I'll often listen to Voice of Turkey. Voice of Turkey brings in a decent signal most of the time here, and so at 22 UT, like in 19 minutes from now, 9830 Voice of Turkey English language broadcast, 22 to 23 UT. It says irregular here on the EIBI space. And let me just say one thing about Voice of Turkey. 9830 it's either there or it either starts late, 5 or 10 minutes, or sometimes, some days, it happens it's not there at all. If you don't hear it, don't think that it's because you'll never hear it. Try a few days in a row, because it's kind of a weird, irregular broadcast, I have to say. So Voice of Turkey, 22 to 23 UT is one broadcast I like to listen to. Kind of like the Turkish pop is kind of interesting, and the Voice of Turkey is they have the mailbag show, they have their own news stuff, and I kind of enjoy the the exotic side of it. They also have a broadcast from 03 to 04 on 7275. So 03 to 04, 7275. That one is usually heard well here in North America, also in the summertime. And in the morning, North America, they are also broadcasting on 15. Let me just get to it. Whoops. Got a little too far here. So they're on 15450 from 12:30 to 13:30 UT. So that's early morning North America. It's a broadcast intended to Europe, but it comes in here quite well. So 15450, 12:30 to 13:30. I enjoy the mix of pop, Turkish pop, the mailbag, the news, and the general information. They always have that show where they talk about different places in Turkey for visitors. So kind of a travel show if you want. It's one of my go-to broadcasts. Here at that time, it's usually the time where I will cook supper or something, and it's kind of interesting to hear to listen to that while you're cooking. It's kind of fun. So one two let I would say two stations, because I'm looking at the chat room here. Two stations that I would say, so they broadcast in a language I don't understand, but I have to say, Radio Nacional Amazônia, Brazil, is in Portuguese, but their music, in the evenings, they often have Brazilian music, which sounds great. It's if I had to put attach maybe a kind of a souvenir to Radio Nacional Amazônia, it's the HCJB of Brazil and the music. So everybody that listened to HCJB in Quito, Ecuador, remembers the Andean music and the Ecuadorian music from HCJB. Everybody will remember that. And actually on 6050, that could be one pick, but it's more difficult to listen to. The Brazilian equivalent to it would be Radio Nacional Amazônia. They often have Brazilian music in the evening. I gotta say, it's interesting to listen to that Brazilian music. It makes you feel, I don't know, it sounds exotic, and it's kind of cool for that. So I'd say that 11780 and 6180, Radio Nacional Amazônia in Brazil. Of course, when they talk, I don't understand a thing. But when there's music, the Brazilian music in the evening, it's kind of cool. Some really nice music there. Voice of Greece is another one. If you like Greek music, it sounds so unique and very, very. It's very interesting. If you like Greek music, Voice of Greece, once again, 9420 is a great choice. For the music side of things, I think that is something I like a lot. I would have Radio Romania. Radio Romania has interesting programs. I'll be very blunt here. I hate their music. I just don't, I don't like. It's just I don't like. It's not that it's bad music. It's just I don't like the Romanian music when I listen to Radio Romania. I most of the time I tune away when there's music there, but they have a couple of shows. So there's a cooking show that's kind of interesting to do some kind of Romanian dishes if you want to learn. But one that is amazingly interesting that I always tune and always love is when they talk about Romania in the communist era. Every week they have the shows where they talk about how life was when they were under communist regime from Russia. And it is super interesting. I love that. And it's fun to hear all the little stories behind what was happening back then, before they came back to the world of today, basically. That I like a lot. They have their mailbag show, which is always nice. News and all of that. I've always been a big fan of news of radio stations, by the way. Because somebody told me once, they said, well, you talk a lot about the news bulletins, and we have news. Yeah, but the news read by a different country is different from what we have. First of all, Radio Romania will have news about Romania, which we don't know about here. But also, when they talk about world events, it is interesting to have the take of somebody else. Here we have the Canadian take on world events. You guys in the US get the US version of world events. But it's fun to hear the Turkish or Romanian or whatever station you're listening to take on the same event. And sometimes you're like, oh, okay. So that's what you think of that thing. And, sometimes it's, you'll dismiss it. Sometimes it's going to make you think. It's going to like, well, if they think that of that event, maybe what we think of it is not necessarily wrong, but maybe flawed. So that's what I like about Shortwave, actually, is having all of that. So those are some of the broadcasts. Summer, it's summer, and summer for me equals, it used to equal Radio Australia evening, but it's not there anymore. So my summer evenings are now Radio New Zealand. Radio New Zealand has been packing such a good signal in the evening. On the West Coast, you guys are lucky because you get it earlier. But on the East Coast, starting at 01, 02 UTC, depending on the evenings, 13840 is, man, it's such a good signal. So Radio New Zealand on the East Coast is really, really a summer thing in the evening. So, listen to it now because, we're going to move on into summer. We're at the peak right now. Usually in a month from now, it really goes fast, and it shows how the transition of the different seasons really, really is going fast. You notice, even in a month from now, you'll notice that 13840 isn't as strong and as good as it is now. Because you see that the change in season is going on, and that signal will start to drop. And at, for the East Coast, at the end of like early August, mid-August, it start having some difficulties really listening to it as we're moving on then to wintertime, where, evenings are not Radio New Zealand, unfortunately. But you can hear them in the morning. I like Radio New Zealand a lot for their news of what's happening in the Pacific Islands. Once again, anybody have news from Fiji? Anybody have news from Papua New Guinea? Anybody have news from, those different Vanuatu or whatever? Nobody knows what's happening there. But Radio New Zealand gives us that news. I listened this week, so many reports of things of, first of all, yes, we are tired of hearing about COVID-19. We're all tired of that. But it's part of our lives. But I have to say, hearing a report, I think it's last night or the day before on Radio New Zealand, hearing a report from Radio New Zealand talking about COVID-19 in New Zealand, first of all, and in the different islands around the Pacific Rim, it's interesting because we learn a little bit more about, so how are these guys affected by all of this? And Radio New Zealand is truly the news of the Pacific. We know what's happening in the Pacific Ocean. We know what's happening with all of these places in Oceania and so on. It is really, really interesting for that reason, because of all the news we get that we never hear. That's Radio New Zealand has a special place in my heart. I can tell you that. So 13840 in North America has been amazingly good in the evening here. What else do I like to listen to that I will go to all the time? I often call them propagation beacons. I'll go to different frequencies to check propagation. So, for example, if I want to know in the evening if Europe isn't bad, I'll go on, 5450 and 5505. What's there? 5450 is the Royal Air Force Volmeter station, weather station out of the UK. If I hear it's an upper sideband, if I hear the RAF station, I know, and I'll know, and depending on the strength, I'll know how good propagation is to Europe. 5505 Shannon Volmet out of Ireland is another one that I'll check. And I know that propagation is open to Europe on low frequencies. For the mystery and the mysteriousness of what it is, 4625, the buzzer. It's just a buzzer, I know. But you know what? When you hear that, first of all, the buzzer sounds so weird that it's just mysterious listening to it. But kind of thinking about, the buzzer being associated with, military and especially, for a long time, it was associated with the first strike. If the buzzer stops, we're all in for nuclear bombs everywhere. Whatever it is and whatever it's used for, there's a mystery around it. It's tough to listen to it in North America. It doesn't come in usually in the summer, but I'll check that frequency 4625 just to see if I can hear it a little bit. Tom DXer says voice of Greece equals oops. Let me just check it out here. Okay. So voice of Greece equals good music. RJ Dakota loves Voice of Greece. Also, Radio Nacional Amazona. Tony Turtle, not reverse, but flip for polarization in hilly terrain above 50 megacycles. Nicholas Heyer, I also like pirate radio, like drunken DJ radio. Oh yeah, he's kind of interesting. Drunken DJ is kind of fun. I like the other one. I never remember which one it is. The one that sends 50 SS slow scan TV pictures during the show. I like that. DJ, Voice of Greece always reminds me of our holidays when we spend in Greece. RJ Dakota used to love music from the Voice of Free Chile. Man, these old times. Joe, somebody in the US. Normally, I start my shortwave receiver at 4625. So that's the buzzer. After he goes to 11635, if nothing on 6180, or 6080. So I finished 40 or 80 meter band AM radio. Levy Nathan, nice to have you here from Israel. William Moser, there are pirates that do everything. There are some rock and heavy metal pirates. There are some easy listening pirates. There are some pirates of every kind out there. Nicholas, 13840 Radio New Zealand. Take care, Kadarius. Hey, Jeff Barry, nice to have you here. Legion, I picked up 13840 Radio New Zealand here in Germany as well, but with a very, very weak signal. Considering the distance, 18,400 kilometers. Not that bad. Absolutely. RJ Dakota used to really like listening to Radio RSA, and they had a very interesting programming style. Very interesting take on things. Yeah, it was very different. In the times of apartheid, a lot of stuff. Ronald Zucala, nice to have you here, Ronald, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The different take on the world events is exactly why I listen to shortwave. It's great. Yes, it is. And, let's face it, if you're open-minded a little bit, it makes us reflect and think about the way we think about things sometimes. Rufus Newt, news from outside Canada, cultural programming. That's what I enjoy until the pirates come out. The pirates' view on world events. Oh, God, that'd be good. I would like to have a pirate station that has his own view on world events. Arr, ye matey. Now that my boat is sunk, I curse upon. Oh, that'd be great. A pirate station cursing on world events. Eric Cottrell really misses Radio Australia. New Zealand has done a good job containing the COVID-19. Yeah, Radio Australia. And, Radio New Zealand has a feel, a Radio Australia feel at least. Oh yeah, that's for sure, Matt. Radio Australia always had a more reliable signal. I mean, Radio Australia was a year-round signal on 9580. I mean, unless propagation was extremely crappy. 9580 was always there. It was almost immune to solar disturbances. It was always there in the morning. It was crazy. Oh, that it was crazy. I can tell you that. Thomas Olson, enjoying live stream. We'll try to touch base now that I've discovered your stream. I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America, eastern part of Canada. Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Wolfgang, since more than 40 years, I am a regular listener to the BBC World Service. I listen to it almost daily basis. I am a big fan of the News Hour show. And when I can't hear it on shortwave, I'm lucky enough to hear it on the VPR station in Vermont on 107.9. Wolfgang says, additionally to the BBC, I used to listen to Radio Austria International when I was abroad. Good old days and good old times, eh? Really. Frank Fee, nice to have you here from Austria. Don't be sorry you're late. You're late. It happens. Proud Geek says, cool, nuclear bombs. Yeah, when the buzzer stops, we're all dead. That's why I listen every day. I'm scared that it might have stopped and we don't know about it. Others on the Crafter's Kitchen, Radio Vania, Radio Romania, Voice of Turkey, BBC, WBCQ, WHRI, Radio New Zealand, WWV, Radio España, Radio Exterior de España. Radio Exterior de España, we got to give it, let's try it right now. English is coming up, 9690. That is Spain. And here, they're starting their program in English. Radio Exterior de España. English language service. So Radio Exterior de España coming in just now. Also a good listen. Always interesting. And for those that speak French, in 30 minutes, they have the French, 30-minute French, 9690. Let's try Turkey just for the fun of it. Voice of Turkey. Yeah, Voice of Turkey with their news bulletin coming up, 9830. Voice of Turkey in English.
Ladies and gentlemen, today is Friday, June the 26th, 2000.
Voice of Turkey, good signal, 9830.
Voice of Turkey presented by Anecdotes. In Turkey, daily COVID-19 recoveries outnumber new infections. A total of 1,472 people.
Talking about COVID-19 in Turkey. Radio Exterior España, kind of nice, 9690. I was talking earlier, HCJB 6050. I will listen to there are some evenings they have a lot of Ecuadorian music, and boy, does it bring me back to HCJB of the good old days. Crazy. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here. Is the Grundig Satellite 700 a good radio? From what I know, it is a pretty good radio. When's the best chance of hearing or catching Drunken DJ Radio? It's a pirate station, so of course it could be on every night, but weekends usually have a higher chance of having these stations around. Keegan has reception with the Ethon Grundig Edition Field BT Radio, internal antenna. Wolfgang Platzer, I like Radio Romania International too. I've been many times to the country, the first few times in the communist days and many more times afterwards. You like your travels there? I'd like to see Romania. It must be interesting. Mark Cope, 27025, booming in Dallas, Texas. 11 meters is open. What else do we have? Let's just go down here. DGen, but also Voice of Vietnam because they use direct transmissions. Programs are interesting, so DXing program listening. Voice of Vietnam is interesting. Here in North America, we are at least having them with a relay. It seems Voice of Vietnam understands something that KBS World Radio never will understand, that they should use a relay. But Voice of Vietnam is interesting. Wolfgang says sometimes Radio Romania plays very good jazz or rock from Romania. I agree with you, Joel. Romanian folk music can be a bit tedious after a while. No offense to Romanians at all. It's just It's not my thing. That's what I would say. It's not my thing. Nicholas says, not once have I seen anyone say "Brothers Dare" on WRMI. Imagine, guys, if I would have started with, well, Brothers Dare on WRMI is the best broadcast ever. And then I go to Gene Scott on WWCR. And then I go to, oh man, I could see the counter go down. Okay, there's only 4 people watching now. We know who's watching Brothers Dare or listening to Brothers Dare. Proud Geek can feel the pain of all the people coming from overseas for the Australian Grand Prix in March. Got canceled last minute. But you're lucky. We're gonna have the Montreal Grand Prix in October now. So at least, Yeah, nothing here too, Eric Cottrell, on the bay on 11 meters is closed, pretty much. RJ Dakota says Radio New Zealand basically taken over Radio Australia's place. Yeah, pretty much. And they had mentioned that that's what they wanted to do. When Australia went off, a lot of the Pacific Islands felt they were left behind because Radio Australia was a big news source. And Radio New Zealand kind of felt that they were the ones to take over. Ricardo Silva, Gilles, after weeks ago being shocked when you told me I just can't send you alcohol, I finally found a Toronto shop that stocks top Portuguese beer. I need details to make them deliver to you. Yeah, because there's one thing, Ricardo, that is complicated is I believe even within the provinces of Canada, the sending of alcohol is kind of complicated because Ontario has its own liquor, government liquor thing, and here in Quebec we have Société des Alcools, which is the liquor, the government liquor side of things. And so even within the provinces, I believe it's complicated. But look, contact them, and if you want me to try, and you can do it. But you know what? Maybe what you could do, Ricardo, is if you want to send me alcohol, you could look at SAQ. Okay, it's the Quebec alcohol shops. They are the official liquor shops. If in Toronto they have it, it's possible that the Quebec liquor store has it, and they will deliver here. Because I don't think that Ontario can deliver to Quebec for liquor. Dejan likes Voice of Korea because they have very old-fashioned broadcasting style. Oh yeah, absolutely. Voice of Korea sounds like Radio Peking. When I started Radio Beijing, when I started listening to what is today China Radio International, which is such a different broadcaster than Radio Beijing. Hector Vasquez, remember Radio Mexico International? Yes, I do. Absolutely. Wolfgang says, what I really miss nowadays compared to my first great period of DXing and shortwave listening in the 80s is all the African, Asian, South American stations. Yeah. Remember tuning. Yeah, Keegan, VPR is WVPS in Burlington, Vermont. Absolutely. Moria 330, nice to have you here. The tropical bands, that was so unique at the time. We would, in the evening we would tune and we'd have all these Central South America. I remember there was always that pattern where late afternoons I would start tuning around in the summer and even in winter, but you'd start tuning here in the East Coast late afternoon, the tropical bands, and you would have all of these stations from Africa. And as it would get past midnight in Africa, as the time was going, you would have all the African stations sign off, which were replaced by a lot of Central South American stations as the evening went on. And I mean, I still remember 4VEH and Haiti. Man, the QSL I got here is one really special QSL. Matt has good signal of Radio Exterior, España 9690. Degen, RE actually quite weak here in Germany. Charles Eden, what's the Super Bowl channel? Super Bowl channel refers to a channel 6 on the CB band. The frequency is 27025. We call it the Super Bowl channel for its fantastic amount of amazing, strong signals when propagation, when there's all sorts of skip conditions that bring all these powerful CB stations. So the Super Bowl channel is channel 6 of the CB band, or 27025 kilohertz. Rufus, both stations great on the FRG 7700 MLA 30. Lair Nigel Lawrence, nice to have you here. What do you think of the Magloop WLA 40 or 40 or 400? It's hard for me to talk about loops I don't own. I got a W6 LVP, I got an MLA 30, I got a K180 WLA. What I know is, W6 LVP loop is an expensive loop, and when I look at the MLA 30, I'm like, yeah, that thing is cheap and works as well. So it's kind of complicated. I don't know what to say here. I don't know if anybody else has one that could maybe talk and say what they think. Vianney Arsenault, 9830, Voice of Turkey. Eric Cottrell, 9690, strong. Wolfgang says, whoops. Let's just go back. So they have lots of power, absolutely. The Super Bowl channel are not regular CB operators. They are like kilowatt power operators. They're really illegal, but man, Wolfgang says, fun thing. 40 years ago, I had not many radios, but many stations. Now I have much more radios, not many stations. Yeah, that's pretty much what we all have. 40 years, like I started listening in 82. It's 38 years ago. I didn't have money. I was a teenager doesn't have money. So, I was happy when my little DX100, I was happy when my dad purchased a Radio Shack DX302, and that had the frequency display, which was really cool. But we had pretty much one radio, and it's funny because in the 80s, it's one of those things where, like TVs, in the 80s, we all had a 20-inch TV because that was expensive, and that was pretty much, for most people, that was the most that we could buy. And a few people had 26 inches. That was pretty big at the time. If you had a 26-inch TV in 1985, you had a big TV. And it's funny because today it's like, well, you got a 50, like, I'm the first complaining. I have my 50-inch in the living room. And I'm like, man, this thing is so small. What is that? And it's 50 inches. Come on. It's twice the size of what we had when I was young, if not more. Shortwave radio came in that same aspect. A good shortwave radio in the 80s was several $100s. But $300, $400 in 1985 was a lot more money than $400 today. And even today, $400 for a lot of people is still a lot of money. So, there's that change that means that, and of course, as a teenager, I didn't have a job, nothing. So I was poor. Now I, do YouTube stuff, and according to some people, I'm rich, but maybe not. But what I mean is I have more money to buy radios than I had when I was 14 or 15, It's interesting. David, REE 9690 is transmitted from just about 600 kilometers west of his Q2H in Noblejas. It's so nice that they've back in the air after they struggle and were almost gone. Yeah, they almost got totally out the air, because when they left the international broadcasts with languages, French, English, and so on, actually they wanted to completely stop broadcasting. And I remember, because I followed that, and I remember that there was a motion to actually keep them on the air in Spanish. And it's nice because I was surprised when they announced that English and French transmissions came back. I was surprised, but very happy also at the same time that English and French came back. So there's the English one. I'll be. It's funny because I listen regularly to both English and French. I don't know why the French, because it's not the same program. And the French language program, I find it more interesting than what you guys have in English, actually. And I wish you guys in English would have the same quality program. In English, often there's a lot of music. In French, there's very little music. It's almost only talk. And I find the French side more interesting. So it's kind of, it's really not the same program. Dave York, nice to have you on board from Seattle in the state of Washington. Degen says the Satellite 700 is a great radio. Love is in great DX machine. Frank Ireland's got Spain and Turkey both in Florida. Interesting point for KBS World Radio. They use relay for the 75-meter band broadcast in German. Yeah, why don't they? You know what? 15575. I wish somebody from KBS would look at this show. Hey, 15575 to North America is crap. We don't hear you. You're spending thousands of dollars for nothing. Why don't you relay off of WRMI? Wake up. We don't hear you in North America. I mean, come on. I don't hear. The only time that I listen to KBS World Radio is in the winter. You know why? Because they have that European relay from, I don't remember where. I think it was Wolferton last time, but it could be France, Issoudun, France. That relay in the winter in French, I could listen to here. It's the only time I hear KBS. I mean, 15575 apart. In the past 2 weeks, there was a couple of times when it came in a little bit. But come on, what a crappy way of doing shortwave. You wonder why stations leave shortwave. Oh, we don't get reports from North America. Yeah, maybe you should ask your crappy idiot technical section that doesn't know what it does. That's the problem. Should I write a report to KBS and say it like that? By the way, you have a crappy technical section that doesn't understand how to broadcast in North America. Would I still have a QSL card? I'm going to be blocked. I'm going to be totally blocked from writing to Korea now. Oh, man, that felt good. Because, yes, KBS World Radio, crappy signal. You guys don't know what you're doing. You're wasting money. Please. Okay? Oh, man. That's the thing. Jet NG. I used to have a Sangean 909 and a Kato 1103. Do you still have radios? Wolfgang, only started listening shortwave in March again. I still have the FRG 7700. And it's a cool looking radio too. The Yaesu actually had a lot of cool radios. Kamaxi, if someone lived within a few miles of a pirate, would the signal be overloaded? You'd have to be very close. If you live, so if let's say a pirate station has a kilowatt, okay? If a pirate station had a kilowatt, if you live a couple of streets from him, you would be totally overloaded. If you lived 2 or 3 miles from him, you probably would You'd get the ground wave probably, but I don't think after 2 or 3 miles it would be that strong. But if you lived real close, yeah, probably. Wolfgang, in a few weeks now, I will also have an FRG7. Cool. Great birthday present. Ground Geek wants to try the Portuguese beer with me. We'll do a special show. Rufus Newt, amazing. A dead man is still broadcasting. It was just as bad as when he was alive making money. RJ Dakota always remembered XERMX Radio Mexico. Man. Long time ago. Legion heard a recording of Radio Canada International, last German language broadcast in 91. Made me feel very nostalgic. There's a lot of nostalgic moments of some of the broadcasts from the past. I got to say, if I start listening to there's a lot of YouTube videos of old broadcasts from the past. I start listening to that. I'm like, oh man. Victor Osorio. My father used to run his station on 60 meters, 4950, if I remembered correctly. Wow. What else do we have? Matt says people on the Super Bowl channel use highly illegal multi-kilowatt power. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's pretty crazy. Those guys are crazy. Wolfgang Plazer says, thank God there's still some programs of Radio France International on shortwave, mainly their African service. Yeah, I like that. Radio France is interesting because they're even the BBC. I have to say, Radio France and BBC's African service is pretty much the only thing left on shortwave that gives us news of what's happening on the African continent. And that is also interesting. And that's something cool to be able to listen to, for sure. David in Barcelona says, Voice of Korea is one of those stations that no matter how you think, never leaves you indifferent. Just the fact that it's a signal from North Korea is always kind of mind-blowing. Content is certainly distinctive. Totally. It is the last station. Every station has modernized. I mean, Voice of Vietnam is still a communist/socialist country. But every broadcaster, even in Vietnam, has modernized somewhat the way things are happening. I mean, China Radio International. China is a closed country, pretty much, with a lot of news and stuff, and open at the same time with, I mean, come on, we buy their Chinese radios, but they modernized the programming. So they sound more Western-like, if you want, even though they have their own thing. But Voice of Korea from North Korea is what sounded like, it sounds like what Radio Beijing was when I started listening to shortwave. It sounds like a lot of those communist countries of the time. And it's the last. If we had to put a sound of the Cold War era shortwave, if somebody asked me what today on shortwave would remind you of Cold War shortwave listening, well, Voice of Korea, North Korea is the perfect example. I would not choose CRI. China Radio International doesn't even sound Cold War-like. It sounds modern, open society, even though it's very closed. But Voice of Korea from North Korea does sound very Cold War era broadcaster. Mickey Dalmage, on the west here, the tropical bands were afternoon Africans, evening Latin America, mornings Indos and Papua New Guineas and so on. Yeah. Here in the East Coast, I had to, for such a long time, I had probably crappy radios, which prevented me from listening to a lot of stuff from the Pacific Ocean. And, we always have that rant. People on the West Coast rant that European signals are weak, where here in the East Coast, they're really strong. And you get and you hear I have the rant of everything from, Pacific and Asia is weak, but Europe's strong, and then so on. It's, of course, the East Coast was more difficult on the tropical band for sure. But Africa stations were really nice. I was happy to. I was really happy to speak French with all these Africans, because a lot of them were French language stations, and I could listen to them. And I still remember one of my favorite listening before going to bed when early 90s was Radio Nationale Tchadienne 4904.5, which was such a weird and unique frequency. But I would tune my Kenwood R5000 to Radio Nationale Tchadienne. They would sign on at, I believe, 04 or 0430 UTC. And the distinctive interval signal, and then the French language program. It was so cool. So cool. I miss that exotic thing of shortwave. Today, I mean, HCJB still sounds a little exotic. Radio Nacional Amazonas. Radio New Zealand feels Radio Australia a little bit. But for somebody like me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you are in the same thing, that we've been listening for shortwave for a long time, the exotic side of shortwave is unfortunately gone for the most part. I mean, there's that side of it that's kind of sad. But I mean, come on, we're moving on, Thomas says, just remember, I'm an old guy hearing Radio Brazzaville. It's, Brazzaville. Yeah, in Congo. Absolutely. Ricardo Silva, yes, folks, at SAQ stock, 5.2 degrees, Super Buck Malt Lager. So from there, you probably can send it to me. That is, that's the provincial place here. So you want to send that 5.2%. Tropical bands were great. I got so many QSL cards from African stations on the tropical band that I'm like, oh man. No, I'm getting nostalgic now, guys, and that's because of you. If I have to add stations, by the way, to what I like to listen to, I think, you know what, if we have to give a station a really I would give a shortwave award to a station, I'd give it to WRMI, because all the relays that they're doing, Radio Prague from the Czech Republic, Radio Slovakia, Radio Ukraine, Radio Tirana, Albania. They're relaying so many interesting broadcasts that I think if we had to give an award to a station in 2020, I would award WRMI a Medal of Honor for having all of these broadcasts available. Because, I mean, in North America, let's face it, shut down WRMI tonight. I gotta tell you, that's not gonna be a lot of stuff to listen to in North America suddenly. And I'm happy because, I get the messages from a lot of people telling me, well, that's not DX. That's not, I mean, I don't know how many, like on the shortwave channel, I don't know how many people I blocked from comments. It was like, Well, why are you posting the Radio Slovakia from WRMI? It's not even DX. I don't give a F about it's DX or not. It's Radio Slovakia. It's a program. It's coming from Florida. And anyways, did you know Florida is as far away as Europe from Montreal? Anyways, come on. It's like, yes. I rather have relays from WRMI of stations than not have anything at all. Or that these stations would not be there. Radio Slovakia, Radio Prague, they were off shortwave. They were not on shortwave anymore. You didn't have the money to run a transmitter and all. Well, you know what? They have a voice on shortwave. Because they found out that, it's cheap to broadcast through WRMI. Honestly, maybe we should all write KBS World Radio and say, look, 15575 is not coming in North America. It's a bad frequency. And you're spending a lot of money there. If we could write them and say, you know what, if you look at WRMI in Florida, they sell airtime, you could relay from there and you would have a good signal in North America with English and other broadcasts. It would cost them probably a lot less money. And at least, you know what? I'd be able to listen to KBS World Radio for a change. I think we shouldn't be afraid of that because, there's two types of people. I know there's DXers out there that thrive and that are happy and that go crazy over, they get an erection because they receive that 1 watt signal from, that Antarctica, whatever. Yeah, it is cool. But you know what? I am also a program listener, and I rather have a station broadcast from WRMI or WHRI or WWCR if they relay that comes in well from whatever station around the world than not hear it at all anyways. That's all. And it's shortwave. And a lot of us are, there's program listeners. If you want to, if I want to promote shortwave, well, there's one thing that goes with it is if you buy that radio, and I get that already. People ranting at, well, I bought that radio because you reviewed it, but you're receiving 85 stations there. I receive 0. I receive Jesus stations. That's the comment I get all the time. I receive Jesus stations. Well, if we want to promote shortwave and keep it alive, maybe relays are the thing to also promote today. MA, remember crystal radios? I got one for Christmas when I was a kid. My dad would wound the coil for me, help me put up the antenna. I used DX at night. I remember the first crystal set that I had, and I would clip the wire to the cold water faucet at home to listen to stations. It was so cool. Hector Vasquez, WMLK, which is kind of a semi-pirate. It is still on the air. I see reports from time to time. I've seen one in the last week. It's still on the air. Ricardo Silva, yeah, they do make deliveries, but maybe you can't make a delivery from outside. So I'm gonna go and check it out at the shop directly and get some. Dejan, I have a pretty good connection to KBS. I will write to them asking that they might choose to relay. Yeah, they should. They should. I mean, come on. Why the F are you? Wasting money in a broadcast that doesn't work. Your technical department is a piece of crap. They don't know what they're doing. Okay? That's all. at least Radio Thailand is hard to receive here. But Radio Thailand at least changes its frequency in the wintertime. In the summer, they're on 15590. And the wintertime, they're on 13745. That at least shows they're doing an effort to try to get a signal here. KBS 15575. Yeah, that's going to be a 365 days a year frequency. It should work. It should work for North America. Come on, that's good. No, it's crap. Your technical department is crap. Come on. Come on. Rufus Nude, write a report. Have a few more beers before you do it. So I've had 3 beers and 3 vodka drinks. Hello, I'm a listener. I'm a non-listener from Canada because your signal is not getting to North America because you have a crappy technical department. Please, if you're about to send a program to North America, can you at least use it on a frequency we can hear? Why is it you're wasting so much money? That would be a really good one. Why is it? I want them to read it on the air. Why are you wasting so much money? Because nobody knows how to broadcast in North America properly. But of course, I'll be nice. At the end, I always enjoyed KBS World Radio when I could hear it. But since we can't hear it, I cannot enjoy your programs. Oh, that's a long time ago. Hector Vasquez. So Radio Caroline used to be on a ship. Yes. And it was a way for them to be out of the government's rules. But today they're a legal radio station. Radio Caroline actually is legal today. Take care, Proud Geek. See you tomorrow. Yeah, it's very standard French. Absolutely, D-Gen. William Moser. I guess non-directional beacons do shut down for maintenance from time to time. Oh, Hector Vasquez. We don't even need to remember them. It's still on the air. The Chinese Dragon. It's still on the air. Oh man, Peace and Progress. Oh God, yes, I remember that. Yeah, D-Gen, we know. Thank you for rubbing in that you guys in Europe have tons of good signals from everywhere. Johnny DXer, nice to have you here. Eric is getting a weak signal from Guinea on 9650. Check it out here. Oh man, I'm barely a trace on my SDR here. It is magical, RGDA Dakota. Radio is magical when you think about it. Invisible waves coming to your radio. Hey, Pamela, nice to have you here, Pamela. Johnny DXer. Don't listen to haters. If you pick it up, it's DX. David says, here in Barcelona, I can comfortably listen to long-wave stations as MIDI 171 Morocco and Shan 3 Algeria. They do Arabic and French. RTL 234 Luxembourg is in French. Oh, man. I know I'd like the long-wave band. I know that, David. Now, you guys don't get me mad of all the stations you're getting. Frank Ireland just did a test. Tested the Ethon Elite Executive and the Texan PL660, both with the MLA30, used 9690 and 9830. Surprised to see that the Ethon was slightly better on both stations. It's possible. It's possible. I mean, most are great, but there are some slight differences with different radios. Radioactive would love to hear a shortwave news station from Hawaii that would fill a gap to the South Pacific, perhaps. Matt Hallows, nice to have you here. Emily 30 plus now coming with SMA to BNC patch. So cool. Nicholas, agreed. Relays from WRMI is a good thing, keeping shortwave listening accessible and alive in North America. And the more activity, the better, so that we don't lose more stations. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, it's interesting because I had somebody tell me the other day, 5 years ago, there were more stations on shortwave and blah, blah, blah. I said, you know what? No, 5 years ago, there were less than today because some stations came back because of the relays of WRMI. So honestly, even though we lost stations over the years, right now, there's actually more to listen to in North America than there was 5 years ago. A lot of it has to be thanks to WRMI. Rufus Newt likes getting CFRX. It's great DX for it. It's a great DX. CFRX is kind of nice. Ricardo Silva, great raw nostalgic, Joe. I'm still looking for a way to deliver the top Portuguese lager. You deserve it. Cool, man. Cool, man. RJ Dakota says, I enjoyed Radio Netherlands and never once gave a thought to them being a relay station. Radio Netherlands from Europe, super hard to get. I liked the program. It made no difference to me. I mean, Radio Netherlands to North America was relayed from Bonaire in the Netherlands Antilles. BBC had Antigua relay to North America. 5975 didn't come from UK. It came from Antigua, and it was super strong. Okay, Ricardo. Okay, you know what we're gonna do, Ricardo? The easiest thing I think is gonna be that. Send a PayPal donation and say that you want me to use it to buy what type of beer, and I will go and get the beer, and in the next weeks or next week, I'll have that beer and I will drink it live. I'll be happy. Maybe that could be probably the easiest thing to do anyways. So you could do it like that, Ricardo. Matt says, the funniest thing about KBS broadcasting on 15575 at 13 UT is that it's always night in Korea at that hour. So even in summer, part of it's a night path. Yeah. I think they're, because in the summer, I think they're, I don't know what angle, because, they send at an angle with these antennas. Maybe they're just thinking, well, with that angle, it's going to bounce off somewhere where the ionosphere is in daytime. The problem is that they're not also taking into consideration that it's low. We're in solar minimum. And the higher frequencies aren't as good as they could be. I mean, look at 15575, okay? Next time there's a nice big sunspot on the sun, look at how 15575 suddenly comes to life for a few days and drops down again. Somehow they don't understand that, well, we're in solar minimum and maybe we should not use that frequency. You know what? I would use there at that time 13 UT. So Radio Australia, I mean, come on, okay. I mean, it's not the same region, and Korea is north, a lot more north. I mean, when they broadcast to us, I mean, I know it's not the same area, and maybe I'm just saying whatever. Why don't you try? I mean, okay, North Korea would come in really well on 11710 when they had full power. Why don't they try a 13 UTC broadcast on 25 meter band? At least test it. I mean, you got the choice of not being heard to not being heard. What are you going to lose? You have the choice of maybe being heard instead of not being heard. You know, I think for them it's complicated to change the frequency and they're not willing to do it. Oh, man. RJ Dakota, my first crystal radio was actually clipped to a chain link fence and copper rod to the ground. I remember having my crystal radio. So where I lived when I was young, there was a fence with a metal rail, and that metal rail went several neighbors long. And I remember I would clip the antenna to that and hear a lot of stuff. I would hear a lot of stations. It was like crazy. Javen Robert Milligan, yes, Voice of the Report of the Week is a station I listen to regularly. Absolutely. And he's a big fan of, John is a big fan of the show, actually. Radioactive as VE7FG on 50033CW. Ryan Paynton, no, not yet. I still don't have that old man radio. I was hoping I'd get it today because it's been released by Customs in Vancouver on June 21st. So I was hoping, I said, maybe today. No, I didn't get it. So next week, I guess. And today I got confirmation that my NIMH Amazon Basics rechargeables have been shipped. So I'm going to get that early next week. That's going to be cool. William Helms, non-essential businesses in Florida closing again. Oh, man. I mean, come on. I got to be careful that we can't joke around with whatever, with what's happening with the virus. We cannot joke about that. DXing, you're welcome, Michelle. And it helps if you can speak German, English, and French. Then you have tons of stuff. Yep, absolutely. Like I said, sometimes I've listened to stations all afternoon. People telling me, well, there was nothing here. And kind of not realizing that I had listened to a lot of French language broadcasts within all of that. Old radio man says, I hope someday Joel will open up and tell us how he really feels. I am mad. Nice to have you here from Northeast Tennessee. Oh, man. I'll open up a channel for nostalgics of shortwave. We'll do live shows thinking of, do you remember Radio Moscow? When they used to have that news bulletin and they would send, information to spies. Do you remember when we listened to, radio, whatever, HCJB in Quito, Ecuador, that Música del Ecuador and so on shows. Let's have a nostalgic. You know what? I think we're due for that. Maybe next week, one of the shows should be nostalgia of shortwave, and talk about and have sound clips of the good old days of shortwave. And then after, we'll all be crying with our beers and our alcohol. Oh, man. It's just crazy. Yeah. So, what else do we have? Osakama, nice to have you here. Microphone I'm using sounds great. Yes, I know. It's amazing. Have you ever played with picking up shortwave radiogram? Yeah, many times. It's been a while now. I need to do it. It's been a while since I did it last time, but I did it a lot. It's kind of fun to go through, for sure. Dave Quick experimented with using a railroad track. Man, imagine clipping your antenna to a railroad track. Oh, by the way, what are you doing? Oh, well, I gotta remove my clip because the train's coming. But after it's passed, it's going to be okay for a few hours. Got hit by a train trying to listen to shortwave. That's not a good thing. DGen, yes, they actually talked about it here on the news in Canada. And, I think that's the way things are going to be complicated for the future. We're going to go into like cycles of that coronavirus shit. RJ Dakota says, standing close to an AC power pole always improve the signal on medium wave. Take care, Tom DXer. Always nice to have you here. I need to do it. Nicholas says, shortwave radiogram is fun. I haven't done it in a while. I need to do it. It's the weekend. Hey, Jim. Nice to have you here from Rhode Island. Yep. So field day, you guys, tomorrow, where amateur radio operators are supposed to show us how good they are in unique and difficult conditions. It's going to be a lot of fun. Ryan wants me to do a shortwave radiogram video for noobs. Newbies. Degen, do you know the episode of Laurel and Hardy when Oliver had to put up an antenna? Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Maybe next week we're going to have some kind of nostalgia show. So, hey, guys, we've been on for 2 hours and 50 minutes. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. And take it easy. And we are going to be back next week. And we're going to, I'm going to try to do one this weekend. I don't know if we're going to have time, but I'm going to try to do one this weekend with the shortwave radiogram. I hope you enjoy the show. Mickey Dalmage, I've been going over my tapes from the past. Yes, nostalgia happens here every night. Oh, it's crazy, eh? Oh, Radio Cameron 4850. I remember the frequency. Oh, man. Now, you guys, you know what I'm going to do tonight because of you? I'm going to listen to shortwave, but I'm going to go to YouTube and watch all of those old recordings that are on YouTube and everywhere of shortwave broadcasts. By the way, International Radio Report on Sunday. The ending, for those of you who've been listening to shortwave for a while, the ending will give you nostalgia. So International Radio Report on ckut.ca. That is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 14:30 UTC. You can stream it. If you're near Montreal, you can listen to it on 90.3 FM. And you can, of course, listen to 3 months of live shows that are archived on ckut.ca. International Radio Report. Check that out. It's a great show. Levy Nathan, did you ever try to use the MLA30 with multiple radios? Yes, I did, actually. And it works great. You can actually use it with through 3. I put like several plugs on the same. And I used 3 radios at the same time. Works great. Works really great. What we'll do, David, you know what? We'll do a special amateur radio show. And we'll have all of you guys call each other and try to see if we can get QSOs, if I can listen to you here. That would be, that. You know what? In the coming week or 2, we're going to try that. What we'll do is we'll announce it in advance. I'll even do a video talking about all hams, calling all hams out there to join in the live show and make contacts. And I think that could be a lot of fun, absolutely, David. Marcos Abrajo, your Grundig S450 DLX on the shelf is a great shortwave radio. Yeah, I don't like it because it's kind of crappy, but when it works, it's good. When it doesn't, it's another story. So thanks, Eric. Have a good weekend, you too. And stay safe, everybody. Okay? Hope you enjoy the live show. Stay safe. We'll be back next week. Maybe Sunday, but I'm not sure this Sunday because I think something's coming up. So who knows? But stay safe. Field day this weekend. Listen to that. And if you guys like to listen to AM radio operators from Canada, July 1st is Canada Day, and it's the Canada Day contest. Lots of Canadian ham radio stations on the air. If you want to listen to all the Canadian provinces and territories, I think it's going to be the best time to listen to that. And see you Wednesday, Canada Day here. And take care, everybody. We're here on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 UTC, and Friday, 20 hours Universal Time, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Take care, everybody. Love you all. Stay safe, and see you next week.